Morning everybody, Cam Biker here. Just out on a little trip with Graham, and I thought I'd do a video about something that I heard today. I was listening to a podcast, and I'm a bit of a film lover. I have a reasonable collection of films that I've bought over the years, or movies as our colonial cousins would call them. I've got a collection of about 1,200 films that I bought on DVD and Blu-ray, and I was listening to a podcast earlier, and it's ruined films for me forever, and I'm going to say the thing later on that's ruined films for me forever. So if you are a movie lover, then I'll give you fair warning that you might want to stop when I get to that bit. But I've often lamented how Hollywood ruins films, and some of the big names ruin film. In this podcast they were talking about Disney changing a film to try and make it family friendly in a way that is quite odd in a way. I guess it's for families where somebody in the family is incredibly squeamish about nudity. They were talking about the film Splash. Splash, if you don't know it, it's a Daryl Hannah and Tom Hanks film. Daryl Hannah is a mermaid, Tom Hanks is a lonely man with a penchant for people who are half fish. It's an odd idea, really. I mean, the idea of a man falling in love with a fish is, could have some people feeling a bit squeamish, but that isn't the bit that they've cut out. They've actually cut out the bit where Daryl Hannah dives into the sea and you can see her bum. And on the DVD I have, you can see Daryl Hannah's bottom. I've never been offended by it. I've never really noticed it that much. I mean, by today's standards of bottoms, it's probably not fashionable anyway. But for some reason, Disney have digitally modified her so that suddenly her hair grows by 3 feet to cover up her backside. I don't know who that's trying to not offend. I've not seen this version of it. It's on the Disney Plus sharing service, and apparently it still has the weird bits where I think it's John Candy, who plays his brother, who has an obsession with looking up women's skirts. I believe that bit stays in, so the bit that really should be questionable, the man sleeps with fish and the man upskating, although before the advent of the mobile phone camera, of course, that's out, but Daryl Hannah's backside isn't. And pretty much everybody's got a backside. They're not that offensive, are they? I've often lamented the changing of things like Star Wars, where they, I think, really wreck things like Star Wars. Star Wars, the fact that it's still got the rubber-faced aliens in that by modern standards look rubbish, but it doesn't matter, because effects in the end are much less important than stories, although some film studios don't seem to understand that. So it doesn't matter that Star Wars hasn't got the best effects in its original version, because it's got a cracking little story. But then they had to come back over and over again and add more CGI spaceships and things like that. And at the time when they started adding these, I'm sure they looked fantastic. But if you look at them now, what you've got is 1970s dated special effects and early 2000s or late 90s. I can't think of when they actually kind of spruced it up. But, a decade or two old CGI special effects. And the ones that for me have dated the worst are the modern ones, because they look quite obviously not there. So you got Han Solo talking to Jabba the Hutt, who is clearly not there, and Han Solo's not quite looking at the person he's talking to, or the giant slug he's talking to. But with the kind of latex effects, he is looking at them because they were there. That's quite a weird one. I don't like the way they fiddle with that, and I don't have, and it's of great annoyance to me, I don't have the original Star Wars film in my collection, the unmodified one. I really would like it, but it's very hard to get hold of now. There are films nowadays where the entire ending has been changed, thus ruining the film in my eyes in a lot of cases. And it tends to be the old focus group thing where they've made an ending that the director and the writer and other people wanted, but when the film studio put it in front of an audience, a selected audience of people to that focus group to give their opinion on, they didn't like the ending, so it got changed. And quite often you'll find them as DVD extras and you think, well, why the heck was this changed? Two of the best films I think ever, Alien and Aliens, one of those unfortunate things where the sequel to a film was also brilliant, so they carried on. And with Alien 3 and Alien Resurrection and all the new Alien films, Alien vs Predator, and there are more bad Alien films than good Alien films, I guess is the point. There are two good Alien films and a lot of dross. But the two Alien films were cut short just because they were deemed to be a little bit too long. Again, not by modern standards. By modern standards, they're kind of normal films, because there's a lot of 3-hour films nowadays. But the uncut version of Alien and the uncut version of Aliens are brilliant. I mean, if you've never seen the uncut version of Aliens, but you have seen the kind of cinema release of Aliens, you might have been forgiven for wondering why Ripley, who I named my budgie after, by the way, that's how much I like Aliens, Ripley has an excessive attachment, it appears, to Newt, the young girl. But in the uncut version of Aliens, you understand why, because the whole story about Ripley drifting in space after Alien for, however many years it was, a lot of years, you actually find that Ripley had a daughter who has died of old age whilst Ripley's been asleep. It's these kind of things that actually make films worse and in some cases ruin films. But listening to this podcast, and here's the bit that for me might have ruined a lot of films forever. So if you don't want to know, and I'm not joking, this isn't going to be ha ha ha, isn't that funny, everything's blue, oh yeah, or green, or some silly thing. This is proper spoiler for a lot of films and for TV as well. The first one I know about this happening to, that was mentioned in this podcast, is from the series 24, and I'm going to re-watch 24, and luckily I know the story, but I'm going to see this and I'm going to know that this is a problem, that it gives away who the bad guy is, and it will give away the bad guy in many films after this, and hopefully at some point this will become a widely derided thing and maybe it will stop. So if you don't want to know, and I'm serious, it isn't a joke, this is your last chance, stop the video now. Alright, I've given you your chance. Apple are ruining films. In 24, in the first series, and this is a spoiler, I think that's enough warnings now, isn't it? In 24, the first series, I think it's the first series, the CTU, the counter-terrorism unit, this is where Jack Bauer, the main character, works, anti-terrorism organisation, kind of, I don't know, FBI maybe, CIA, that kind of, I don't know. I don't really understand all these three-letter acronym security forces in America and what the difference is between them all. But it's that type of thing, CTU. They find out that there is a mole, there is somebody in CTU who is a baddie and shouldn't be there. And they have to work out who it is, and of course all eyes turn to the loner, the woman who's a bit of a techie nerd, doesn't really get on with anybody. It's the American thing of the, that they have this problem, don't they, that there's a vision of the outsider as being a problem rather than just somebody who has different tastes. All eyes turn to her, and of course that's the one that everybody's supposed to think is this person who's giving away secrets or, stopping crimes being, or terrorist acts being foiled, that kind of thing. But Apple, the company Apple, the iPhone maker, although at the time the iPhone wasn't a thing, they ruined it. They told you who it was. And the reason they told you who it was is when you look in CTU, all these people who are, you know, these kind of secret agent type thing, well, not that secret actually, but agents, they all use Macs, all use Apple Macs, except one. One of them's got a Dell PC, and that's the baddie. And then there are films, and you'll see films where people are using iPhones, and then you'll see somebody who's not using an iPhone, either they're using a Nokia or Ericsson or something else modern, you know, Samsung or Huawei. I'm sure Huawei will soon become the bad one with all of the anti-Chinese sentiment that's around at the moment. But or they'll be using a dodgy-looking iPhone that you'll see the screen on, and it won't be iOS. It'll be some other operating system that's clearly dodgy. They're the baddie. And why is this? Because Apple sponsor film and TV massively, and they'll give millions of dollars to a TV program to be made or a film to be made on the basis that their phones feature heavily in it. But Apple will not allow their phones or their PCs, their computers, they will not allow their technology to be used by the bad guys. Only the good guys. Now, product placement, all that kind of thing, I think is a bit sad, a bit pointless, but I understand why companies do it, and I understand why film companies would take the money. I mean, if you think back to The Matrix, which was massive in its time, and the big phones you had back then, but you had a button that you pressed on the phone and it expanded, and it was an exciting phone, and everybody wanted one because it was in The Matrix. That was a really obvious product placement that really gave benefit to the company that was making the product. So it works. So you can understand both parties involved being happy with it and seeing a benefit. But there's a third party in all of this, and that's us. That's the viewers, the cinema goers. And if they're actually changing films in a way that gives away the ending, tells you who that bad one's going to be, that's gone too far, hasn't it? What do you think? Let me know in them there comments. Anyway, thanks for watching. I hope I haven't spoiled film for you forever. Ride safe, and I'll talk to you all again soon. By the way, I've got a Motorola in my pocket. That sounds wrong, doesn't it? Is that a Motorola in your pocket, or are you just pleased to see me? I've got a Motorola Android phone in my pocket, so I could be a bad guy. But in my other pocket, I've got an iPhone from work, so at least my employer is a good guy.